I'm thinking about her and having this feeling of, grandma, I would love to hear from you. And I went into my car. The moment I lifted my eyes, there was a dragonfly standing right on top of the wheel. Can you guys imagine, like,
Wow.
a dragonfly in my car standing in the wheel? I'm like, how did this dragonfly got here? The doors were closed, the windows were closed. I don't have clue how that dragonfly got there, but it was just right there, standing on the wheel looking at me. And I just, at that moment, I said, oh, grandma, that's you. That's you, grandma. And it's when you realize, of course, for the world of the spirit, for the invisible, nothing is impossible.
And then another symbol that I know many of you have thought about it, which is the butterfly. The day my mother passed, I was looking at her. She had been very sick for many days. And I remember I talked to her and I said, Mom, the way I see you now, you're like in a cocoon. You're just tightened up to a bed. You cannot move. But once you transcend, once you pass, you're gonna see how your wings are going to expand. Your white wings, I said, just like a butterfly. And you're gonna learn how is it now that you can love us in a very different way. You're going to expand your love just like a butterfly. 2 hours later, she passed. Well, next morning, when I was going to her funeral, what do you think was the first thing I saw in my windshield? I see this beautiful white butterfly, and it started flying, and it came with me throughout part of my journey. This It's not common to see a white butterfly. That's exactly what I saw. A white butterfly standing in the windshield. Because one of the things I said before she passed, the only thing I'm going to ask you, Mom, is for you to let me know that you're okay. I just want to know that you're okay. So for me, that was a symbol of letting me know I'm good. My wings are spread, and I'm loving you in a very different way.
Likewise, another way of symbology that I learned uh, through the years was that after my mother died, I began to feel a sense of the aromatic essence that brings the jasmine, the flower, the jasmine, to later realize and learn that my mother loved the essence of jasmine. So I put the two and two together, and I believe that was the message from my mother telling me that she is around me.
Hello, everyone. Here another episode of In Dying, I Began to Live. Here with you today, Ingrid Honkala.
Francisco Valentin.
Ana Cecilia González.
Wow, it's so good to have you here for another episode of our beautiful podcast where we're answering all your questions. And the question for today, very, very incredible, interesting one. What are the symbols? What is the meaning of the symbols? Why do we keep seeing things and feeling that something is calling us? So it's all this language of the symbols that have been calling our attention through history. So I think it's a very interesting topic. It's a great topic. And let me tell you, I think that actually through history, human beings have been finding the way to communicate with the invisible. And when words fall short is when we realize that symbols appear. And symbols are all those images, shapes, or signs that speak directly to the soul. I have the in my myself, and I don't know, I imagine you guys too, the sense that a symbol is not something that we just explain. A symbol is something that we feel. It is something that is felt. And it is like a doorway between the material and the spiritual world. It is how life or God or the universe remind us that there is something beyond all of this that is visible. It's like we're all the time is touching the world of the form and the world of the known form. That is invisible to the eye. To me, symbols are the language of the sacred. They speak to us through, sometimes it could be a number that repeats itself. We hear a lot. I've been seeing 111, 222. It's just all these numbers that appear everywhere. It could be a butterfly that appears at a perfect moment when we just need it. Many times it could be in the form of a dream. It's the a kind of dream that leaves an imprint, or a synchronicity that confirms that we are on the right path. So there's so many ways in which symbols cross our path, and each symbol carries an energy, a message, a frequency. And when we learn to recognize them, we begin to live differently. It's like if we're more aware, more awake, more connected to the mystery that is surrounding us. Like if you think about it, like when we look at or we find a 111, a 222, a butterfly, something that has that meaning to us, is like we jump, like, is there in my phone? Is there in that car plate? Is there in that house? Whatever it is. But before I move on and pass the button to Francisco, I want to mention something really important about the core of what a symbol is the meaning that it has for each one of us. Because in reality, absolutely everything is neutral. But through times, with this feeling of wanting to communicate with the invisible, as I was mentioning, we started to give names or meaning to things. So there's a way in which the symbols can be explained in a universal way, but I think the most important is the meaning that each symbol has for each one of us, what it means to you. What do you think about that, Francisco?
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, indeed. There are many aspects to what people call symbology, and you explain it extremely well. You explain all those many aspects, and in general, that is the term or let's say the consensus
Yeah.
from people. But let me go ahead and speak about my experience, because that's what we're here for, to share our experiences as a fact, not as something that we have read or learned from somebody else, but from firsthand experience.
Yeah.
I first learned about symbology precisely in 1979, when I died in the car accident and went into the void. Um, and here, let me explain how I learned that symbology works. We have a physical world and we live in this physical world. Therefore, we relate to our reality based on our experience, but through the physical senses. Everything that we see, we touch, smell, and so forth. Uh, but then the spirit world does not work with the physical senses. Therefore, we are consciousness embodied in this physical body. And when we leave our body, we don't have the physical senses. But for example, in my case, when I had my death experience, going to the void, I found out that I was still myself, not recognized as Francisco Valentin or ever being a human being, but I was consciousness. However, one of the things that I say when I do my lectures about near death experience is that when I was in the void, suddenly I saw a light approaching me. But how can I see if I don't have my physical eyes? People call it the eyes of the soul, but it's a way to for us to identify or create that analogy so you can know that it's not your physical eyesight but your eyesight. And still, what I saw is not something that I saw, was something that gave me, like, for example, the sense that there was light, because we humans have learned to interpret light as something bright and something that can be seen, something that can bring peace, harmony, and darkness is the obscure, the fear, the everything that, because in the physical world we understand that light is being able to see all my surroundings, and darkness I cannot see anything. So I might feel prey of the predator because I never saw him. But in the daylight I can see the predator approaching me and I can run away. So that's the way we interpret things from the spiritual to the physical, through that way of symbology. So as I saw that light approaching me, and then those spirits of light swirling around me, those spirits of light that I interpret them as spirit of light, they were like a white veil swirling around me. And that's when I begin to feel peace and love. And that symbology is what I learned how the human perception works. And there's a lot I have to talk about, but I want to give space for Anna Cecilia to give her to share her experience, and then I'll in the next round I'll come back with more.
Thank you, Francisco. I love the way you both start, because I think this is precisely what this is about. Like Francisco said, this is coming from our personal experience, and it is important to notice that symbols, of course, that what we just saw, that they are the language of the soul. Why? Because, like Ingrid said, these are things that cannot be explained. There's sometimes they're not even something reasonable. Like for some, a cross could mean something. For others, something different could mean something. So it is what Ingrid was saying. It's very important the way you started. Thank you for both of you, because I think this is a very fundamental thing to put that as a baseline of what we are trying to say. And as we all know, there's natural elements like water, fire, earth, air, and there are symbols of what we can interpret. Like in the Bible, there's lots of this when it says, and the wind came, and for some this is the spirit. Fire is also a symbol. Sacred geometry, we've talked about that. I'm just going to give you some so you can relate to some of it. That I want to invite you to look at these symbols in your own life, like a triangle. The triangle is for some is the body, mind, and spirit. The spiral, the mandala is also another symbol. Light, Francisco was just talking about light. Yes, what is light? And we're thinking about the bright light. A white light means sacred, it means God, and the dark one means the other thing, the opposite. Well, not necessarily. It is exactly what your own experience, even like what Francisco was joking the other day, water could mean a blessing for some. But if you're drowning, that symbol is something that scares you. So symbols are the language of the soul. Animals in nature, for example, butterflies, hummingbirds, all of these things. So I want to tell you some of what have been very important. My life is full of symbols since I was born. And it is important to know that these symbols, you might look for them, figure it out in the internet, or look elsewhere, just to try to find the meaning of what it is. And you might find a generic thing like dark and white, or like black and white, or things like that. But it is the real meaning is what it means to you. It could be accordingly to others, but it's really what does it mean to you. And for starters, I want to start with two important symbols, and then, like Francisco says, I will go on telling you. But for me, for example, the heart. What do you think when you think about a heart? The first thing we think is love. And for me, well, that was a difficult one because I was born with such a complex, like I say, it's a very deformed heart. It was a very difficult heart to live with because it was very, very different from everybody else. I was born with a very serious heart condition. So the heart could mean something negative unless I start giving it the beautiful message it means to all of us. You see love, you see life, you see like caring for somebody. So for me, one of my central symbols has always been the heart. It represents not only my physical story, but also a mission of love, awareness, and resilience. I've had to go with this heart through a lot, through surgeries, through ablations. But for me, the heart means the portal through which I've learned that life is felt through it. Every time my heart beats, it means I'm alive and it's given me the opportunity to continue. So, my biggest blessing, even though it's come with a lot of difficulties, has been this beautiful symbol of the heart. And then another symbol that I know many of you have thought about it, is, I've seen that it is a beautiful symbol, which is the butterfly. What does the butterfly mean to you? For me, it was so beautiful because I'm going to tell you a little bit about my own life. When my mother passed, the day my mother passed, I was looking at her. She had been very sick for many days. We didn't know when the final ending was coming, but we knew it was coming soon. And she was tied up to a bed. She was with a respiratory. She couldn't breathe by herself, but she was completely aware. And I remember I talked to her and I said, Mom, the way I see you now, you're like in a cocoon. You're just tightened up to a bed. You cannot move. You cannot do a lot out of this bed. But once you transcend, once you pass, you're gonna see how your wings are going to expand. Your white wings, I said, just like a butterfly. And you're gonna learn how is it now that you can love us in a very different way. You're going to expand your love just like a butterfly. So I just said that, and I gave her a kiss and a hug, and I said, "Well, Mom, I'll see you in a little bit. We're leaving. We're going for lunch with my dad." Well, when we were at lunch, 2 hours later, she passed. So the beautiful thing about this is not that I had said this, but how for me it was telling her how free she was going to be. Well, next morning when I was going to her funeral, what do you think was the first thing I saw in my windshield? I got out the car, I turned it on, and then I see this beautiful white butterfly exactly on my windshield. So I was moving back, and then suddenly it moved and it started flying, and it came with me throughout part of my journey. This It's not common to see a white butterfly. That's exactly what I saw, a white butterfly standing in the windshield. Because one of the things I said before she passed, the only thing I'm going to ask you, Mom, is for you to let me know that you're okay. I just want to know that you're okay. So for me, that was a symbol of letting me know I'm good. My wings are spread, and I'm loving you in a very different way. So that beautiful butterfly, that beautiful symbol will stay with me forever. And that's for me, my mom telling me through that butterfly, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm okay. So this is another symbol I just wanted to share with you from my personal life. Just look for your own symbols. And for now, I'm going to leave you with Ingrid, but this was a way for me to know that butterflies mean something. What do they mean to you? Okay, Ingrid, tell us about you.
Wow, and I love it. I love it because this is again how the invisible communicates to us, how we are able to touch, let's call
Yes.
it the spirit, through the heart, through that deeper connection. And I just love these stories, and I have beautiful stories to tell about encounters with animals too. And one of those, one that means something really important in my life and that has a deep meaning for me, is dragonflies. For
Yeah.
me, dragonflies have been just very powerful symbol. And to me, it symbolized transcendence. It symbolized the spirit world. It symbolized um, when somebody passed, and now it's like it's communication again with the world of the spirit. So uh, I have, I don't know how many experiences with dragonflies that are just very meaningful, very touching, and pretty strong experiences. And one of those was I was thinking, just like you mentioned, Anna, about your mom. I was thinking about my grandmother. She passed, and I was like with that feeling inside of me of wanting to know about her, how she was doing, if she was doing okay. But my grandma was such a happy person that I was already thinking she's probably already having a party in heaven. She was that kind of, like, really um a person that loved partying and loved just to have fun. It just, it was a person with a lot of joy. And then I'm thinking about her, and having this feeling of, grandma, I would love to hear from you. And I went into my car. I opened my car and I sat in the seat. And the moment I lift my eyes, there was a dragonfly standing right on top of the wheel. Can you guys imagine, like,
Wow.
a dragonfly in my car standing in the wheel? I'm like, how did this dragonfly got here? The doors were closed, the windows were closed. I don't have clue how that dragonfly got there, but it was just right there, standing on the wheel, looking at me. And I just, at that moment, I said, oh, grandma, that's you. That's you, grandma. And it's when you realize, of course, for the world of the spirit, for the invisible, nothing is impossible. So that was one of the clear manifestations that there's nothing impossible when we're talking about connection with the spirit world. The other one was a very, very significant one and very impressive, because when I had my last near death experience, I, of course, I was at the hospital, and my youngest sister, she came to visit. And the idea was that she was going to be with me through the recovery process from this surgery. And she stayed at home with my son and our dogs, and I was at the hospital with my husband. And there was a moment in which the dogs, they needed to go out, and my sister and my son grabbed the dogs. And the moment they opened the door, the house was surrounded by dragonflies. She was absolutely, like, almost like, how, what is happening? She said she's never seen this many dragonflies in her life. So
Wow.
she said it was that many, that of course she was in shock starting from there. But that's when she realized, because she knows the meaning the dragonflies have for me. And again, is that symbology of dragonflies meaning something that is more is transcending, more it's sometimes related very close with the spirit world. My sister immediately knew in her heart that something had happened to me. She, that's the first thought that crossed her head. And she later realized that, yeah, the moment that she came out and she saw all these dragonflies outside is when I had my near death experience. And before I pass the word to you guys, the another really meaningful experience with dragonflies was with my dog. When my dog passed, he was already getting very, very, very ill, very old. He had cancer. He was very sick. And then it was the time to make this decision for him to leave this world. And then we got the doctor coming to our house. We were all there. We wanted to have the best situation, the best conditions, just him to feel good. And then he was lying on his bed. He couldn't even move. He could not get up. And at that moment, I heard a noise in the window. And then I turned around and I saw an animal. It was a big animal, just the quick view at the beginning. And I thought it was so big that I thought it was a bird knocking the window, which birds have also incredible symbology. They mean a lot to many people. And then birds, it's same as dragonflies, are just like messengers. And then it was something was knocking the window, and when I turned around I realized it was not a bird, it was a dragonfly. And I've never seen a dragonfly this big. So all these with dragonflies just kind of like very to the extreme. And then at that moment my dog stood up and started to walk. And then I thought, oh, he got better. No, it was just a moment of like high energy. And then he went back to his bed and he lie down. And then at that moment is when I had the feeling, oh yeah, he's going to transcend. It's his time. I just felt like, let's call it his guardian angel of or the world of spirit was coming to welcome him. So that's been some of my
Wow. Wow.
experiences with animals, and I just think they are extremely powerful. So I want to hear more of your experiences, Francisca, with all this incredible world of the symbols.
Yes. Speaking of animals, I can recall an experience. I mean, let's be honest. Many of us may have had experiences with symbology, but not not getting it because of not paying attention, or
Yeah,
maybe
that's right.
uh, out of ignorance. And I'm not saying ignorance in a bad way, because I was ignorant to it until it happened to me one time that it caught my attention, and yet I didn't see it until much later on. And it turns
Yeah.
out that when my mother died in the year 2000, and before going to the hospital, she stayed with me and my wife in my house, uh, because she was, she couldn't be on her own anymore. At least we didn't trust her to be in the house alone anymore, so we took it with us. And one of the things that she did was that she was kind of afraid of being alone, and that this specific time, uh, me being an independent agent in the financial industry, I had my little desk in a corner in my room where I did the paperwork before going out in the field. And my mother, because she didn't want to stay alone, she was laying down in our bed while I was working. When suddenly my mother said, "Look, son, I can see doves. I can see a dove inside the house." So I look back, and of course the AC was on. All the windows were closed. There was no way that a dove or a pigeon could get into the room. So I dismissed it, and I keep working. When suddenly she goes again, "Look, son, there's a dove inside here. He just went by." And I look again, and I dismissed it. Later on in life, I realized what just happened. My mother was a fervent Catholic. So to her, the dove, the white dove, uh, was a symbol in in Christianity, or in the Catholics uh, world, as a symbol of peace, a symbol of tranquility, serenity, the Trinity with the dove, being with God. So I later realized that what she was doing was she was getting a message to bring her that peace, that tranquility, kind of preparing her to that solemn moment. I didn't see it until many years later. I did not understand it. So my message to you at this moment is that if someone that is in a similar situation ever sees something, don't think that they're crazy. They may be getting a message, and uh, and that's for me to help uh, to help you guys in case it happens to you. Likewise, another way of symbology that I learned uh, through the years was that after my mother died, I began to feel a sense of the aromatic essence that brings the jasmine, the flower, the jasmine, to later realize and learn that my mother loved the essence of jasmine. So I put the two and two together, and I believe that was the message from my mother telling me that she is around me. And speaking of dragonflies, uh, I don't know much about symbology. That's not within my field of expertise. Neither I spend time getting into too much detail about that. But yes, I have had experiences with dragonfly, and people have told me that the dragonfly is a symbol of spirituality and so forth. And I want to ratify that I am a very inquisitive, analytical person who everything has to make sense. And through the years, I learned that the messages from the spirit world and the spirit world as it manifests in the physical world do not necessarily make sense. But that doesn't mean that they do not exist. It's just that we need to learn to interpret those messages through what we understand is this symbology process. And I have been around dragonflies, and one time I saw a dragonfly. I extended my hand, and it posed in my hand.
Oh,
Something that I see it very, very unusual. And I have been around dragonflies, and in one occasion, knowing now what dragonfly means, I remember one day there was a dragonfly, then comes another dragonfly, and I was with my wife, she's my witness, and she told me, go up front to see if they approach you. So I closed my eyes. I brought the best intention for them to be at peace around me. And the next thing, when I opened my eyes, they were all surrounding me. What it meant, I don't know. But at least I can give you a first-hand experience with symbology and the subject that Ingrid just brought up, and Cecilia, about animals and how they manifest. Not without telling you, or as an analytical person in me, tell you that uh, when there's when we see an animal approaching us, or whatever we have seen, we have heard today about experiences with animal, the analytical might say, well, what does an animal have to do with it? An animal doesn't have any conscience. It is very limited. Well, this is the thing. When an animal approach you to give a message, it's not that the animal is going to give you a message. In my opinion, what I learned is that the spirit manifests through the animal, which doesn't have much conscious, and uh, and it allows the animal to behave in a certain way to bring a message. Of course, knowing that you're not going to kill that animal, of course, uh, and the animal manifests, and you receive that feeling of peace, harmony, or whatever the message it is. And for those who still wonder, let me give you a perfect example. Everybody that I have known, including myself, have had the experience of someone telling them something out of nowhere, even a total stranger. And you receive that message, and the person goes away, and you say, "What did he say? What happened?" And it happened to me. One time I was in this reunion with friends, and I had this friend of mine in front of me, and I suddenly shift gears and I just look at him straight to the eye and told him, "I know exactly what you do and why you're doing it." And I stay still. He looked at me, very surprised, and he got his eyesight out of me and he walked away. And I said to myself, "What the heck did I do? That didn't come from me." Because as it happened with animals, it happened with us humans. Spirits do manifest through us, and I'm a perfect example. I'm a channeler, so I know what I'm talking about. They manifest through you, deliver you a message. Many people do that, walk away. They don't even know why they say that. They keep walking like nothing happened, but they just deliver a message. And I leave you with that, and Ana Cecilia will take over.
Wow, wow, Francisco, you've mentioned so many things. I'm trying to make notes of everything that comes to my mind with everything you're saying. It's so beautiful because you talked about many things, and the first one you were saying is that sometimes we don't pay attention, and sometimes things come to be like open our eyes after some time. And this is something that happened to me with my raffle. I didn't even know that I was whenever I was in danger or when I was very sick or when I was in the hospital after a terrible flu, suddenly I saw this green light. And then I saw this figure that I thought it was a ghost all the time. Well, this is a ghost that every time he comes, he wants to take me with him. And in my mind, these are things that you never talk about. First of all, because who's going to believe you? There's somebody appearing in front of your eyes when you're so sick. And I was a little girl, probably 7 or 8 years old, when I decided to name this ghost. I gave him a name, and I named him. Well, I say him because of the all the learning we've gone through this, but I named him Raffle because in Spanish I didn't know if it was a male or a female, so it's Rafael or Rafaela, like a woman. So I just said, I'm going to name him Raffle. And it's in the middle. Well, little did I know, many, many years later, that this being that I never talked to anybody about, but this being always appeared with me with this beautiful green light. And I later knew that Raffle in Catalan, in Spain, it's the word that they give to Archangel Raphael. So I found out about this when I was 50 years old, many years later. And then I found out that Archangel Raphael is the archangel of healing. Just imagine. These are things that they were a big symbol for me, but I didn't even know the meaning until I really wanted to find out why was this appearing. And of course, I was not the only one receiving these messages or these symbols. So Archangel Raphael is meant to be the healing and protection. It's absolutely a symbolic language. And the green light represents restoration, hope, and it's the divine care that has been with me throughout my physical and spiritual journey. So there again, sometimes we say, "Why do I always see green?" And I love green. And every time when I was a little girl before my surgeries, every time I was really didn't have enough oxygen to breathe, I remember I went to lay down in the grass, which is the green. I love the green, and just grounded. And then again, what does a grounding mean? We always say, I need to ground myself. Well, these are symbols, but they represent this connection with the speaking with the soul. So for me, my archangel Raphael was not only a being that constantly appeared in my life always, but it also gave me the green light that then I understood that it also had a symbol, a meaning. But like we say, that's what it means to me, and maybe to you too. I really invite you to look for the symbols that maybe you have never understood, but then after time passes, just like Francisco explained so accurately, they meant a lot, and there was a reason why they kept appearing. And there is something also about talking about animals that I want to share with you. There was this a friend of mine that we lived together for probably 5 or 6 years, and because we shared really a house, and her mother was living with her in another apartment, but very inside the same area, the same complex. And when her mother passed, the only thing the mother wanted is for that her ashes were sent to the ocean where she always lived when she was a little girl. So this friend of mine had the ashes in the house for some time, and well, in her place. And then one day, a little bird appeared. And this is a very, very symbolic. This little birdie, it fell from the nest. So this friend of mine took her home, and I love taking care of little animals. For some reason, always animals come to me one way or another. So this little bird I put it in a little box and outside because I wanted to for it to be free. I didn't feel encaged. So then it escaped. It was just probably a few days old, and I had a little dog that also was out in the garden and saw the bird out, so he started barking at it. And then I was washing some dishes when I saw birds of all kind of. It was not only it was hummingbirds, it was doves, it was about 6 different kind of birds that were flying around my dog, trying to protect this little bird. So when I saw that, I went out quickly, took my dog in, and then took care of again of the little bird. So I had to put it in a cage so it wouldn't be in danger. So little did I know that these birds were just protecting this little just newborn bird. And every day the mom came and visit, and it brought her little weeds, little insect. But then I saw that that was the mother. So when the bird grew a little bit more, probably a week later, I let her free again, and the mother came to visit. And it was there. It hung out with us for about 2 months, and it started to fly back and forth. So all of this comes to then this bird was following me everywhere. As I told you, I had 3 dogs, and I usually gave them little treats. Well, the bird came, and he was behaving like a dog. It came and flew around me. He was always around us, and he was free. He could leave it if it wanted, but it didn't want to go away. It was just hanging around with my dogs. They became friends. I have videos that my little Chihuahua dog playing with the little bird, going one after another. So it was an amazing experience just watching these beautiful animals get along together. And this bird didn't want to leave home, and it could fly by then. Well, this is a story. This was when this friend decided one day, we're going to take the ashes of my mom. I was going to go with her. We're going to leave it in the ocean. So we took them and we flew all the way to Acapulco where she lived. We took the ashes with us, and the bird was there, and I had somebody taking care of the house. So next morning, that day, we arrived at Acapulco. We left the ashes at the ocean, and then I called home and I said, "Okay, how is everybody doing at home with the animals?" And I even named the little bird Hippie. And then the girl that helped me, she said, Hippie is not around anymore. Just the moment when you left that afternoon, it left home. So this symbol was something very important to know, that sometimes, like Francisco said, this is the spirit coming and say, "Hey, what are you doing with my ashes? I'm here. I'm surviving. I just want you to take me where you promised you were gonna take me." And it was very meaningful that day when we left the ashes in the ocean, this hippie, my little friend bird, left the house and never ever came back again. And it stood with us for about 2 months. So you can give the meaning that you want to things, but all of these things is I just invite you to observe, to listen. It's through your senses that you're going to feel and you're going to see, you're going to smell, like Francisco said, like Ingrid was saying about all these symbols that have been appearing in their own lives. What are yours? And I want to invite you to learn about your own symbolic ways of knowing about life, how life communicates with you in this beautiful world. So, Ingrid, I'm done with this today. I mean, for now with this animal, but tell us about one more story about you.
This is beautiful because it makes us feel and remember that we're never alone, and that the
Right.
entire universe, one way or another, is trying to communicate with us. So
Yes.
it gives us that sense of like, look, how many, sometimes we're the ones that feel isolated when then everything around us is talking to us. And how many examples the spirit world in connection with us. And sometimes, it could be also music. You're in the car or in the house and the radio station, you turn it on. How many cases and people say, oh, the radio just turned on and it was the song that my mom loved, or my somebody that already passed, a loved one, used to listen to that tune or that song, and sometimes the song in itself bring a message. Or like Francisco
Yeah.
said, sometimes somebody pass a message, or sometimes somebody will give you a book. Anything, everything is just, it's amazing just when we pay attention.
Right.
The numbers we mentioned before, for me the number 111 is always been that connection with the beings of light. And when I lose focus, or when I because we're always surrounded by the spirit world is right here, like the waves of TV and radio and internet are all here all the time. Guess what? Our guides, our guardian angels, and what we call, what I call beings of light, are always here. But sometimes we get distracted, we lose the way, we're out of focus, and that's the way to remind us. In my case, 111, we're here.
Yeah.
Turn around, focus your mind, and then if I was having a bad day, it's a reminder you're not alone. So
Right.
it's like you both say, is we have to find our own meaning, we have to find our own interpretation, because like I said at the beginning, in reality everything is neutral, but it's the value that we
We give.
give to that symbol. And of course there's collective symbology. After through history, people have experiencing or have experienced a connection with certain symbols, so we take notes and we start having certain meaning to certain symbol. But at the end of the day, always go and look for your own symbology, what it means to you. And this is the other thing. I If we keep talking about animals, in my case, when I when I meet people and I do sessions with people, for me the animals appear all the time. So even before I meet the person, I start having in my mind the clarity of the symbology that comes through animals. So I see an animal, and what I do is, in this case, I go to the internet and I search for the meaning of that animal, because I'm looking for more like a general idea of what this symbol means. And then I start to get information about the person I am about to meet. So, because animals, I adore animals and animals are part of my life, that's how the world communicates with me, through the symbology of animals more than anything else. So, or nature sometimes too. So this is incredible how whatever we're more tuned or aligned with is what we have to pay attention to. And like we mentioned before, you can also call for your own symbols. Like Anna was saying, like mom talked to me and she have share with her mom the symbology of a butterfly. So we can also ask, like mom or grandma, or show me a symbol, or a, or I want to see a blue flower. and this blue flower is going to confirm that I don't know, that I have it's okay to meet this person, or that you are here present with me. So you can always work with your own symbols. And another way in which the universe communicates with us, I mentioned at the beginning, is through synchronicities. And I remember when and I have mentioned it before, when I had what I call my dark night of the soul, and I went into deep prayer and I asked to God, I said, God, please help me see, because I cannot see. I have become completely distracted and lost my way. And the first feeling I got when I woke up in the morning after like sleeping a couple of hours was the sense of you need help. And then even deeper into you need help, I felt the sense of looking for a psychology. And I went to look for a psychologist, and I wrote the name on a paper. And that very day, I went to eat lunch in the cafeteria with a friend, and I was sitting there with this friend, and she started to talk. I wasn't even mentioning anything about me. She just started to talk. Hey, my daughter is going through a really hard time, and she's seeing this psychologist. And it was the exact name I have written on the paper. And later that day, another person, is just like Francisco said, people will, a spirit will use this vehicle as a way of us as vehicles to communicate. And there was another person that mentioned the same psychologist. So 3 times, same name. Okay, is I better pay attention. And I realized, this is the spirit world trying to communicate with me, validating that what I am feeling is real. And just before I end my share, I want to also bring a deeper meaning to what symbols are trying to convey to us. And this is when the beings of light, and I bring their teachings, is when they said to me, in reality, life in itself is a symbol. Symbols go deeper than we really realize. And to the point that they said to me, you think that humans have children just to reproduce, just to keep the species going? They said, no, having children is the expression of the symbol of love. Is It signifies unconditional love. So imagine the symbology of like seeing a baby as the source of the divine, as like something that is flourishing, coming new, and we have the possibility to go back to know unconditional love through that love, through that baby. The problem is that sometimes we don't realize that this is an opportunity to go back to love, and we get lost in the role of being a parent or being a teacher or being a friend, and we don't really realize the true meaning of that symbol. Another symbol, eating together, like when we even see the image and the message of Jesus eating with the disciples, is that um being together, that moment of connection. And when we eat, and we eat together, it's not just the food in itself. Yeah, eating is good, but it's like when we eat with the family, when we eat together, is a point of connection. And sometimes again we miss the point when we're sitting together and we're looking at the phone or we're texting. Is a possibility to connect. So again, life in itself is a symbol. And I think that we were talking with this in the past with Francisco, and he has an amazing way. And I remember he mentioning how we can see that life in itself is a symbol. So I just pass it to you, Francisco.
Thank you, Ingrid. Speaking of music, that you mentioned music, it brings to my attention. Uh, how many of you have listened to a piece of music, whatever it might be, and suddenly you begin to cry,
Mm.
or you feel this emotion in your chest, and you just go into awe? That's probably a message from the spirit world. Take that into consideration. But shifting gears, I want to shift gears and give you what I understand to be the number one source of symbology: our dreams.
Oh,
We dreams every day, or let's say every night. And when we dream, we enter in this world full of symbology, things that we do not understand. And like Ingrid said, we go to the internet or to open a book. What does it mean here and there? And I am not taking away anything from the books or what people say, because there's a common denominator usually. Because as you, for example, just like we mentioned before, if everybody says that water is peace, well, everybody will think that water is peace, except for that one who almost drowned. But for the vast majority of people, when something is said frequently, they take it as that's what it means. And it's not that they can make up a story and then everybody believes that story. But if the consensus is, for example, that light is good, the spirit world is not going to send you anything but light, because the spirit will understand that light is the language that you understand to bring clarity, and water peace, and so forth. So I'm not taking away any of that. I'm just explaining things for you to understand. But take into strong consideration the fact that when you dream, the dream is yours, the dream is for you, the message is for you. So pay more attention to how did it feel more than the image. Nevertheless, it is always good, and I am proponent of this. When you have a dream, uh, go back, close your eyes, try to recall the picture, try to get that picture image and repeat it in your mind, so you can keep asking the question, how did it feel? And go back and forth trying to remember what happened before and what happened after, so you can see the whole picture. As a matter of fact, as I transcribe the weekly transcript from, I already mentioned that I'm a channeler for the collective forces of knowledge and wisdom. Precisely yesterday, I was transcribing one of the transcript, and while I was listening to the recording, I realized that at that very moment, I was just going through the practice that I just mentioned, going through myself, talking to myself about what happened to the in the dream, and the collective forces explained to me what it meant. Uh, hard to explain, but I didn't get it at first, and I got it when they explained it to me. But that's a work on myself, because I need to learn how to interpret my own dreams. And so please, whenever you have a dream and you wake up with the remembrance of that dream, go back to the picture, but try to interpret it yourself, not what the book said. Of course, the book is going to be a help for you to try to put all the pieces of the puzzles. But dreams are full of messages, of symbology. And that brings me to something that I came about in the Spanish version of this podcast, and is that I want to bring to you uh, a phrase, or yeah, it was a phrase from this poet, the late Spanish poet Pedro Calderón de la Barca, who said, La vida es un sueño, y los sueños sueños son, which translates to, life is but a dream within a dream, suggesting that life is an illusion. And that brings me, in my closing, to those words that are very, but very similar to one of the message that I received from the collective forces of knowledge and wisdom, and I give at the end of every lecture that I make, and I'm going to do this today, right now. And it goes as follows. If we ever understand that we are one infinite mind, expanding through the physical and spiritual realm limitless, then we will understand that the physical world is only an illusion. And I leave you with that. Ana Cecilia?
Wow, Francisco. The physical world is only an illusion. I love what you're sharing with us. Thank you, because yes, I really think we should make another podcast about dreams. For me, dreams have been a very, very important way of communication. And what is it that we're really trying to tell you with all of this is that we should listen to the spiritual world. And one of the ways to listen to it is through symbols. And we can ignore them. We can say, oh, that's a coincidence. Or everything can be a symbol of communication. What is it for you? So I really invite for all of you to listen to this. All of us have given you different ways, different forms. Is through music. Everything our senses perceive could be a way of communication if you decide. Or we could ignore it and talk about only coincidences. But the three of us, have not only decided, but we know that these are the ways that the spirit world talks to us. And for me, and one of the last ones that I want to share with you is my mom had passed. It had already been about 10 days. And just like Ingrid was saying, Mom, just give me a sign that you're still okay. Because one thing that I know, and the three of us know, is that death doesn't exist. So if that doesn't exist, and we just move to another realm and we're just in another level of vibration, but we're still around in another way, where are we? How do we know we're there? How do we communicate? And this is a thought that we've talked about this. So one of the ways that we can know about our beautiful beings that have passed is through symbols. But just like Ingrid said very accurately, you can even tell your loved one, please talk to me through something. But you need to open your eyes because they're always there. They listen to us. So one of the things that I had never really thought about it, when my mom passed, my friends gave me a little frame with a hummingbird. We've always known that hummingbirds are the messengers, and they give us messages from heaven, from the other realm to this one. So I remember when my cousin, he passed very young, and I remember my aunt, his mother, telling me, whenever you see a hummingbird, just remember about him, because he's that was something he loved, and for me, that's the way he's saying I'm okay. So I remember when he passed, the next day around my house by the tree, I saw a lot of hummingbirds just going through all the little flowers. It was about 5 or 6 of them. I took a little video, and that was very beautiful. Until then, my friends give me this frame with a beautiful poem about a hummingbird. So this was probably 3 days after she passed. And then it was about 10 days later. We were here where we came home, where we live. And then we were watching a movie. And suddenly my husband, without even me sharing this story, well, he saw the frame and he saw this beautiful image that my friends gave me. And then he turns around to the window, and it has, this is like a space we have. There's a little roof on top of this terrace. And then he said, look at who came to visit you. So I turned to my right to the window, and there was this big hummingbird just flying in front of the window. He stood there for a little time. I tried to take out my phone to take a video, but I couldn't. I just flew right away, and then I tried to follow it, but it was an unusual size of a hummingbird, and it's a hummingbird because it stays in the same place, just moving its wings, standing in front of the window. And for me, this was because of my friends implanted that thought in me. That was the way my mom, for me, is telling me, I'm alive, I'm with you, I'm close to you, I'm not gone. I'm just in another dimension, but I'm around. So for me, that was such a meaningful way of reconfirming about our beings trying to communicate with us, trying to tell us, we're okay, I'm fine, I'm here, I'm with you, and I'm not going to leave you. So this is just another way through animals, but it could be like all of us have mentioned, many, many ways. And at the end, what we want is to know that all of this is for real. Believe me, it is. And it's not because of only because the three of us have gone through near death experiences. We've gone through channeling, we've gone through many ways of knowing that the spiritual world is out there reaching out to us. And one of the beautiful ways is through symbols. Like just like Francisco says, it could be through a dream, it could be through synchronicities, it could be through things that we see, we touch, we smell. So just listen. The only thing I'm inviting you is to listen to this beautiful world. Because for some people, this could be just a horrible world. Well, I've decided that I live in a beautiful world that is full of symbols that are talking to me about what there really is out there. And there's love and there's light and there's a lot of reasons to there's a purpose for us to be alive. And as long as my heart keeps beating, I know that there's a purpose. And I'm going to end up my participation in this talk with you with something I wrote and I want to share with you. So, closing reflection that I want to share with you. So, symbols are the way soul whispers truth to us, talks about the truth to us. Each of us carries a sacred language of our own. We're all different. Why wouldn't it be different the way the spiritual world communicates with us? Mine is drawn in a heart that learned to beat with awareness, a butterfly that reminds me that death can become rebirth, a green light from Archangel Raphael that surrounds me with healing, and a radiant light that guides me whenever the path grows dark. So this has been my symbols, some of them in my life. My life is full of them. And I want to leave you with this beautiful message. And thank you very much, all of you, for being listening to us. So Ingrid, I leave it up to you now. Thank you for letting me share my love to all of you.
This episode has been just absolutely beautiful. And I want to share with all of you before we close something I share in the episode we did in Spanish, and is how Anna became my hummingbird. Because my mom, when we recorded the episode in Spanish, I think a week ago, it had been my mom's birthday. And one of the symbols my mom communicates with me is through hummingbirds. And her birthday had passed, and I was asked, like, I didn't see the hummingbird. I always see it in her birthday. And right when we were recording, Anna started to talk about the hummingbirds. And I said, oh no, my mom was waiting for Anna to talk about this. So
Wow.
it's like the spirit world is with us in everything we do. And all of us are messengers. All of
There you
us are
go.
vehicles for a
There you
spirit.
go.
Yeah, to communicate with each other, just as this podcast is another message, another way to pass all these messages to all of you. So we hope to see you next time. And then I'm going to pass the word to Francisco because I love when he closes. So go ahead.
Yes.
Thank you, girls. Uh, yes, as a matter of fact, I want to remind you that this podcast with this subject has been brought to you because someone came forward and asked that question.
Mhm.
So I don't ask you, I'm pleading you to please ask your question, because there might be someone else that might be wanting to ask but do not dare to do it because of shyness or whatever reason, and you might be helping that person answer that question. So you're helping yourself and you're helping others as well. And please do share this podcast with anyone that you know that they may benefit from it. We are in English and Spanish, so you can read both. You want to learn Spanish, go ahead and watch us in Spanish. And share with people that you know that may be speaking both language or the opposite language. We are in YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, in WhatsApp. I will be answering your questions soon, but I need people to keep subscribing, so we can have enough people, so we can start answering questions directly. So I think that's about it for today, and we're going to be seeing you next time. Meanwhile,
Next.
have a lovely, beautiful day. Remember everything that you learn here, pass it on, put it into your own personal lives, make it happen, because that's what we're here for. All right.
There you
Thank you
go.
for sharing
Thank
time
you.
with us, and I'll see you
Until
then.
next time. Mhm.
Thank you, all
Bye.
of you. Bye bye.